But as far as decoys this year, I got those 6 oversized Avian X black ducks from Ronnie, which they haven't made in years, unfortunately. Hopefully they'll bring those back.
Those are flocked, right? Those are flocked.
Yeah, they're fully flocked.
Yeah.
Well, they're just like the Avian X black ducks, which are awesome anyway.
But they're big.
But they're oversized. I don't know what the percentage is, but they are way bigger. And most of this year, I just used those 6 ducks. That was it. Those 6 black ducks, and that was it. And I would put 3 on a jerk string sometimes, and I used that almost every hunt, except for our diver hunt, where, I like to put out at least 7 dozen decoys.
Yes.
I really like to get to triple digits if I can when it comes to divers.
Nice.
Yes, he likes to watch me pick them up.
Well, in theory, it's so that they can't resist as they're going by, but they did resist that day. I don't know.
Yes, they did.
We've had solos resist.
We still had to pick them up.
Maybe we should have had the hub lines instead of just standing in the woods or whatever we were doing.
I don't think it mattered that day.
No, it didn't.
No.
There was one time I used a bunch of mallards. I think it was the only time I used mallards this year. I put out a dozen and then 4 butts, so 16 total. And then probably our best hunt, well, certainly our best hunt of the year together, was that late season hunt. And how many decoys did we use?
1.
That was it.
The Avian X black duck power shaker.
It was the only open water in the county, though, wasn't it?
It was. So we didn't want to scare him away because he put out too many static decoys. And, then they're just going to say, that doesn't look real. But you want to give them something to look at besides looking for you.
Right.
And we were hidden pretty
Good hide. It was
well.
a great hide that day.
Yes, 1 decoy. And you said, what do you want to run tomorrow? I said, bring your Avian X power shaker. Yep,
And?
that's it. That's all we're running.
Well, I'll put them out. I'll pick them up then.
Yeah. Right.
I'll do decoys.
Right. I don't know. I usually go through all kinds of decoys.
6 decoys typically outnumbered the number of ducks you were going to see that morning anyway. So it was a cruel fall.
Oh, I did bust out the gadwalls and the widgeons just because the one time we used the gadwalls and widgeons is when we head up north.
I mean, I rigged out for the goldeneye, but didn't go crazy there either, a flock of 12 was a big number to deal with at one time, but I mean, I put them out just because I have them. You got to use them.
Well, when we put out our shared set of decoys, I brought some decoys, you brought some decoys. I did like your setup for your golden eyes. Explain that.
What, the long lines?
Yeah, your long line rig, because I just started. Everybody's telling me, oh, you got to do the 12-slot decoy bag, and then if you feed them in right, then they're just going to come out. And all right, I have started to try and transition to that, although I don't like having all these 12-slot decoy bags in the boat unless you have a big-ass boat. But with the clips, with the long line clips, they just keep getting all messed up. Sometimes they slide down the paracord or whatever we're using, and you have fixed that. And that this is a custom rig.
It is custom. But bear in mind, it may not work for everyone because you have to spend a lot of time explaining how to bag them.
Well, it's the same process.
It is the same process.
It is the same process of bagging them if you're going to use the long line clips, just because that's the most efficient way to attach them to the long line. I mean, really, the long line clips are for taking them off, which I have done forever. Taking each one off,
right.
Well, when you're done hunting,
right.
Put each one on as you're going out to hunt.
Right.
And
I just attached on the mother line, if you will, I just attached stops on both sides, and I put swivels in the middle, and they're permanently attached. They still have drops.
No, yeah, you still have the drops.
Still got a good 14-inch drop, but it's permanently attached to the mother line.
And it still has a swivel clip on the end, on the decoy end.
Decoy end. But I don't have, when I put them in the bag, I don't have that those 6-inch gang clips.
That's
trying
what
to
I'm
get
saying.
hooked
And
in there.
because they're heavier than everything
Right.
else, and they
Right.
go to the end of the bag,
That's
and then
right.
if you have a hole in your bag, then they come out the bottom of the
Right.
bag. You know, one of those mouse holes or whatever, just from using it.
They deploy pretty quick. If you
That's what I mean. That they're rapid deployment, and that's kind of why I tried to go to the 12-slot decoy bags, because I've seen you and your crew run them that way, and I just thought that was never a thing. It just seemed like a pain in the ass and took up too much room, and it does take up a lot of room.
It does.
To have,
It does.
if you're going to have 36 decoys, you've got 3 12-slot decoy bags in there. Otherwise, I just got one of those stand-up Drake bags. You can put 36 decoys in there, and it only takes up whatever that much room in the bottom of the boat, and then but you've got
But mine are out hunting while you're
Right.
still untangling yours.
mine are a 2-person operation. Somebody's handing them, and then you're
That's right.
you're clipping them and making sure they don't get
That's
tangled.
right. That's
So
right.
I don't know, but I thought that was cool. Now, did you see that before, or you just
No, I had struggled with those clips so many times. Now, when we were sea ducking all the time, you unsnapped them, they went in the bag, and that long line got put in a bucket, and that was done.
Yeah.
I said, there's got to be a better way. Way less mother line on these. I mean, you're only running, 30 feet of line on.
Yeah.
So versus 100. Right. So I said, there's got to be an easier way. Got to be. So in the basement, here we go. I figured it out, and I said, I don't know if it's going to work. When we had the layout boat, all those decoys were attached to mother line with just a swivel. There was no drops because we weren't hunting dogs.
Right. Yeah, and I've had that.
So I
we
said,
called it the rapid deployment
right.
system,
I
and
says,
we've done that for a while.
If that, same preface, it'll work. As long as you don't overthink the bagging. Rebagging. Go down one side, make the corner, and come back. Clip your ankle lines, your snaps for your anchors on the outside of the bag. It's easy. Well, you did it.
So it's got to be easy.
It's got to
Yeah.
be easy. It's got to be easy.
Yeah. Now you're attaching the swivel to the long line with zip ties?
I did on both sides.
Okay, so not through
Can't
not
travel.
through the swivel.
No.
Just on either side
Just
of
so
the
it
swivel.
can't-
Gotcha.
Can't slide on the line. Because remember, I got no clip anymore. I've got no clip.
That's what I mean. So you just thread them all
That's
on,
right.
pick
That's
the
right.
spot, and then put 2 zip ties.
And I haven't had, it's been 3 years, I've had no issues. They don't get that much, it's not that rough on them. We're not dragging them across the beach or, they put them out, pick them up.
No, I think that's a great system.
Definitely do it again.
I mean, it's a lot of work. I don't think I'm going to do it, but I think
Well,
it's great.
no. If I did it for you, you'd do it.
Right, yeah. Of course. I mean, even just threading 12 swivels on and then picking where they're going to go and all that. I'm not going to do that.
The other decoy deployment system that I really like, but it's not for everybody, certainly, is the decoy raft.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That Southern Flyways made that decoy raft. In fact, we had built some, remember?
I do, because it's the net that goes around tennis courts.
You found the net at
shade
Martin's.
net, yes.
And I took it to the canvas lady, our friend that does all our repairs, and I said, can you build this? Of course I can. And I got her the PVC pipe, and we built them.
Yeah.
I love those things. We used them sea ducking, but boy, they take up some room.
Yeah, you gotta have a
real
big
boat.
Yeah, because you need to have a helper as well.
Yes. I can deploy them myself, but I can't run the boat into play.
Right. Yeah.
So they're wonderful. When we hunt the island for goldeneye, I do like to put a set of them out because, put out 24 decoys in seconds.
Well, and they do look so natural.
And they do look.
I mean, once you put it out, you go, "Oh shit, that looks like a little raft of divers that are ready to do something, or just feeding right there, or something."
And pick them up quick. And some guys anchor off those. They'll run a long line off the end of those.
I think that looks so realistic, and then you've got the advantage of drawing them down that line.
I built a road for them to follow.
Right? Yeah.
The long line thing, to me, is, I personally like it, even black duck hunting on the coast. When those ice flows come,
Yeah, I know.
I can pick mine up, because, you're just going out, they're going to get chased out to sea, and just pull that line, bring it up to shore, let the ice flow pass, and go set them again.
I know. Thing about long lines for black tucks, and we've tried that too, is that well, for one, it doesn't look all that realistic. So you throw some single decoys in amongst them. And then if you have a dog, then the dog picks up that one single decoy, and then he picks up that entire long line, and then comes back, and then they get all wrapped up and tangled up in the whole schmeal, you know.
Yeah.
And we thought about maybe doing long lines for black ducks with varying lengths of droppers, you know, so they would kind of
Drift differently.
drift a little further away, you know, or closer depending on the tide, you know what I mean? But for the most part, it's on a rising tide. You're setting them up in the mud and waiting for the water to come up, you know? I mean, that's the thing. It's hard to replicate a big flock of black ducks. I mean, divers, they don't seem to be as picky. I mean, black ducks, they're like, I'm not coming there unless you really convince me that you're a bunch of my friends, and that's very difficult.
But that you come out of the river and you look at the bay and here's an ice chunk and they're all against the ice. There's a long line of black ducks.
It's the same way in a salt marsh.
And you say, why
do seem
can't
to
I
line
replicate
out.
it? Why can't I replicate that?
I guess they all want to be in 6 inches of water, so you got to kind of line out to do that, maybe.
Yeah, but they're all moving too.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Well, that's another topic for our discussions that you brought up a month ago when we were sitting around drinking beer, is you got to have motion in your decoys. And,
Absolutely.
I felt like a light bulb went off to my mind, because there's some nice motion decoys out there now that really look good.
I mean, ideally, every decoy that you have should be moving in some way or making ripples in some way, right?
I don't know
I
I don't know why everybody thought static decoys was, you know.
Well, I mean, that's what you had.
But then they relied on the wind, tide, current. Man.
Well, they were all static until spinning wings.
spinning wings.
In my life.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember buying some old clip-on propeller things on, you know, with two AA batteries that you could clip on the bottom of your keel. And I'm like, this is cool.
It does
This is
sound
what
cool.
it needs to. But it didn't work because it took one piece of grass and it would be all messed up, you know.
I'll tell you, for the simplicity and the serviceability of a motion decoy, those Avian X power shakers are pretty tough to beat. Those are pretty tough
Just to get
beat.
ripples,
Just to
yeah.
get that. They put some stuff out there. And,
Yep.
you know, and then simplistic, battery life is incredible. I just buy rechargeables and throw them in the thing and rotate them out, 4 AA batteries. I mean, they're incredible. And very lifelike. They've done a great job with the body
As long as they
positions.
last, that's the thing about most of those ripplers, whether it's the pucks or the butts, whether it's a Mojo butt or it's a Lucky Duck butt, where the thing rotates around on the weight. And eventually, I don't know, water gets in there. It's just cheap-ass wiring or something. I don't know. They never last. I mean, if you can get a season out of one of them, whether you pay $20 for a puck or $80 for a butt with a puck inside, it's the same thing, and they don't last.
It's all about the electronics in them. That's like,
Probably made in
talk
China.
about pulsators. Now the pulsator duck became the pisser.
Yeah, I mean, and I like that because that throws out ripples, but I mean, it doesn't look all that realistic, but it does get some attention.
Deserves to be over just in the weeds enough to draw curiosity towards it, and the ripples come out of there, But there's another one. I mean, they finally, I think, Higdon has got the switch deal. They've gone to a magnetic switch. The other ones, these little push button switches that go to hell. I mean,
I know. I have the Lucky Duck, not the newest.
the Lucky Duck, the new Lucky Duck ACI Pro, that they've figured that out.
Well, that's good because the other one, the button, which I get why they did it, they put it up underneath to keep the water away from it. But if you've got gloves on, then you can't get your finger up in there. I used to grab a stick from shore and bring it out with me to pick up the decoys so that I could take it out of the water and turn it off by putting the stick up in there. And that's a pain in the ass.
And they've all tried this water contact switch stuff.
No, do not do that.
Don't ever buy
Do
it.
not do that. I think
You set it in the bottom,
think
in a
even-
wet decoy bag, it goes off.
I think even Avian X was the last one, and they're like,
no.
crap, why do we do this?
No, don't do that.
No.
The technology there is, I mean, I'm a Lucky Duck fan. I'm not, Mojo's made them forever, and they do make nice product, but I'm a Lucky Duck fan because the remote, some of that stuff you want to be able to shut off. And I'm not going to get in the canoe, go shut off. That remote's on Lucky Duck, they've got that figured out. The battery serviceability and life, Lucky Duck's got that figured out.
No,
Customer
for sure.
service is incredible. You know, so there, I can run one remote, run 3 devices off that one remote, sync them, shut them all off at one time. Think about, you know what I mean?
No,
that little
that's
right
all.
there. You know, you guys have watched me too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I've seen your Higdon one, and I run a Lucky Duck one, and I do like the appearance of the Higdon one better. Just, I don't know if it's the movement or just the spray of water. It's not so severe or whatever, but you can't. You can't turn it off. I wish you could turn it off.
Higdon's other products, they make a little spinner that sits on a pump. I've got a spinner pisser combo. I can remotely control that. Higdon's Pulsator Pro is the best Pulsator duck,
Yeah.
but it has no remote capability. You could literally throw that from here to the road, and you can't hurt it. They figured that out. The magnetic switch is wonderful. Battery life is wonderful. Performance, I think sometimes they've got too much pump power. I've had to replace pumps. That was Higdon's downfall originally when they made the Pulsator, was it had that wire coming out of the bilge pump, which is all it is, a bilge pump,
Right,
and it broke all the time, and it was
Right.
not serviceable. $39.95, it was a new pump.
Yeah.
So I tried, that was a 750 gallon a minute pump. I went to a 500, tried to calm it down a little bit, and I think there's a place for that sometimes. I don't think you need the thing spraying. And there's deflectors on them now. I've played with them.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's all good. Yeah.
The new Higdon Pulsator Pro, they've finally figured out that the exhaust tube that pisses the water, they've made that so you can make it go down into the water. And it's amazing to watch. We're not going to make any water spray, but we're going to make the bob.
Oh, okay.
It's amazing to watch that. Good idea. Great idea.
Now, you noticed that he called it the pisser.
Absolutely.
You know where that came from?
Nope.
Farmer Larry said, every time I hunt with you, all I've got to do is piss. I said, well, I don't, that thing. He says, that thing, I watched that thing.
Well, they say the sound of water flowing
Right, that's
makes you
true.
piss.
It's true.
So we call them the pissolators.
I thought you were calling them pissers because they piss out water.
That's
but
what
no,
I thought.
that's what I. But
No, that's where it came from, the pissolator.
it's just because it makes you have to piss.
Makes Larry piss.
So
I like
we wouldn't do very well, would we?
Oh, God, I'd be dead.
But I do like them. I have had, Higdon used to make hardwire. They were attached to the battery box, which was your anchor, which was also a 12-volt system, which weighed about 38 pounds.
Yeah.
And you dropped that, and then had extensions that would go on that.
Yeah.
And then I had a hardwire Higdon setup that would have 4 decoys on it, and it ran off a boat battery in your blind, and it had a switch that you could go pulsate on or off a pulsate. You know, it would.
I've seen them on duck hunting TV shows. You know,
Right,
in those big ass blinds.
So when I have my yard sale, or when you have my yard sale, after I've left this earth, you guys remember I got that up in the barn. But it's good. They make great product. You know, spinning wing decoys, they've come a long way. They've lightened them up. Battery life is much better. Remote controllability. Got away from metal wings that hummed. Now they're into these fiber wing with the plastic or what they, you know, there's a big difference, you know.
I wasn't sold on spinning wings right out of the gate. As a matter of fact, when they became popular, we were asked, do we want to outlaw them in Maine? And, you know, the question was why? And some would argue that they're too efficient. And I've never known us in Maine to kill too many ducks too efficiently, it seems. But so I asked around what other states were doing, what Canada was doing, and you know, they're legal pretty much everywhere. I think Pennsylvania, they aren't, because they don't allow anything basically electronic associated with their duck hunting, and so spinning wings are electronic. But when I started hunting in cut grain fields in northern Maine with spinning wing decoys, I thought that was a cat's meow. I loved that.
Well, yeah, in a grain field, I still think is where they are most effective for sure.
Yeah.
And you don't even need any other duck decoys. Just run geese and some spinners, and
Otherwise, you're not going to see a decoy in 6 inches of grain stubble anyway. And so it's got to be up.
Yeah.
It's got to be up and above.
Yeah, they just disappear.
I loved them. I haven't gone to the technology that you guys have with all this other cool stuff, but I was sold on spinning wings.
We made our first pissers.
Did you?
And I think that was something online in one of those duck hunting forums. You remember duck hunting forums?
Oh, yeah. All my tips. I'm going to share my tips with you.
Yeah. And we screwed a bilge pump to the keel of, I think, flambeau ducks that worked best for. And then we would cut a little flap in the back and make a little hatch. And then inside there, we would put a flasher bus and then wire it into a battery that then we would drop. And we just take those 12-volt deer feeder batteries that you get at Tractor Supply or whatever.
Right.
And then just run a wire down to that and just like duct tape it to it. And
So they didn't know electricity and water don't mix.
same thing. It's the same thing as the Higdon one, except it's not inside the box.
Yes.
They've got it figured out now. I'm looking forward to checking out the new version of the Lucky Duck one.
Yeah. And I'm going to perfect the swimmer. I think the issue I've had with the swimmer where we hunt is it's not weed friendly. You have to tether it. I mean, if you just don't turn it on and let it swim away, it has to be tethered.
Which brand of swimmer do you have?
I have a Higdon.
Okay. And does it have a propeller, which is exposed, or is
it's
it
the same
bilge pump?
Bilge pump.
Okay.
Yeah. But the swimmer, ideally, that would work if you could set up a dog run situation.
Yeah.
Where it ran, hit a stop, and the swivel would make it turn and go back the other way. That'd be ideal. Not dog friendly.
Mm.
Yeah.
There are systems that do that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about a lot of things is they're not dog friendly. I mean, I love a jerk rig, but they're not dog friendly. Even if you put it off to the side, the dog is still going to run through it. I don't know why. It's like, why are you running through that?
Because I can.
Because he can.
It's like you could have 72 eider decoys out, and you could have one set of sleds, 6 sets of 6 bodies. They're going to find them.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the only ones that don't have drops.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm going to perfect that swimmer thing because, and Lucky Duck has a new one that's high performance. I need more stuff to carry.
Quack.